managerial accounting, direct versus indirect costs. Now, in order to understand the differences between direct and indirect costs, we first need to identify what is the cost object. The cost object is, for lack of a better word, the thing about which or for which we wish to collect cost data, to accumulate cost data. So a cost object may be a department, and we want to know what it costs to run that department, or in the introductory material in the course, the cost object is usually viewed as being the product. So how we define the cost object as the product, or as a department or a region, or whatever you want to accumulate cost for. What are the criteria for determining whether a particular cost is a direct cost of that cost object or an indirect cost of that cost object? Well, in order for a cost to be a direct cost, it needs to be easily traceable, there is a direct relationship between the existence of that cost object and this cost. So it's easily traceable linked to that cost object. It also needs to be economically traceable to the cost object. So it doesn't cost us a whole lot of money to draw that relationship between the cost object and the cost itself that we're trying to keep up with. And the third criteria for a cost to be classified as a direct cost of the cost object is that that cost needs to be an integral part of the cost object. So this is a large dollar amount of the cost, of the overall cost of the cost object. So if a particular cost meets these three criteria, then it's going to be classified as a direct cost. Now, what if that cost is not easily traceable? It's hard to know exactly how much of this resource is being consumed in relation to this product. So it's not easy to trace, nor is it economically traceable. There are some costs that if we were willing to spend the money, we could track that cost directly to the cost object or the product. But is it really worth the cost incurred to trace that cost to the cost object? So if it's not economically traceable, it's not easily traceable. And also, if it's just a very small part of the overall cost of this cost object, in other words, it's not an integral part of that cost object's total cost. Well, if that's the case, then that cost is considered to be an indirect cost of the cost object. So direct cost, easily and economically traceable, and an integral part of the total cost of the product. Anything else, if it's not economically or easily or economically traceable, if it's not an integral part of the product, then that cost is going to be an indirect cost of the cost object.